The European Union has agreed to ration its natural gas this winter. The move is meant to protect member countries against further supply cuts by Russia. Tanya Rivero breaks down some of the numbers for us.
Hi, John. So this could have a tremendous impact, especially in a few months when winter arrives. 32% of EU homes use natural gas as their main energy source. The EU relies on Russia for 40% of its supply, though some countries are more dependent than others. 80% of all natural gas in Austria comes from Russia. Germany significantly reduced its reliance since the war began, but 35% still comes from Russia. France is on the lower end of the spectrum, with only 17% of its natural gas being Russian imports. Now, a large percentage of the Russian gas is sent through pipelines that cut through Ukraine, Belarus, Turkey, or across the oceanic pipeline Nord 1 into Germany. Routes through Ukraine and Belarus have stopped due to the war, and Russia is only sending 20% of the gas it normally does through Nord 1. Now, Europe is instead relying on other trading partners to make up the difference. Norway, Libya, Algeria, and Azerbaijan also all send Europe natural gas. Most nations have worked out new trade deals with those remaining natural gas suppliers to bridge the gap. Some EU countries have also increased their supply of liquefied natural gas, which can be shipped worldwide and turned into usable natural gas. Now, none of this will fix the issues of long-term stability, though, and that is why the EU is asking nations to reduce energy consumption and ultimately diversify their power sources. John?
Tanya Rivero, thank you. For more on this, I'm joined by John Quelch. He's the dean of Miami Herbert Business School at the University of Miami. He's also an expert on international business, trade, and global economic issues. Thank you for being with us. So, why does so much of the European Union rely on gas from Russia in the first place? Isn't this sort of putting all of their eggs in not all of their eggs, but a lot of eggs in one basket?
Many of the EU members, John, have criticized Germany for years for becoming overly dependent on Russian gas. Russia has obviously had an incentive to supply this gas pretty cheaply to Germany. It's extremely important in the German industrial machine, and that dependency is now coming home to roost as we see President Putin administering what has been amusingly called a gasectomy on Germany. Germany is going to have a lot of difficulty storing sufficient gas during these summer months in order to get it through the winter without considerable rationing. And while there is a EU-wide agreement that is now coming into place, it is coming into place reluctantly because many of the countries that are not dependent on Russian gas are annoyed, frankly, that they are having to bail out Germany. But they have to bail out Germany because as the major engine of the EU economy, if Germany goes into a tailspin, that's going to read down negatively on all of the other EU countries from an economic point of view.
So that's fascinating, John. So just to capture something you said is, so it's not just where European countries get gas from, but the ability to store it, which is also a challenge for them. So how, if given the measures that they are taking, which sound like tough medicine, how effective do you think they will be? And do you think that Europe will be able to stick to these rations?
Well, I think that there's no option because President Putin is obviously squeezing Germany in particular on this gas supply issue. And the Germans, as I said, have to be helped by the rest of the EU so that their economy does not go into a complete funk. But it really is a big challenge for Germany in particular because of this over-dependency.
And John, what do you think this tells us, if at all, about the previous view of the world among Germany, among Europe, in terms of how interconnected you can be with other countries in a volatile world, and what measures you can take to mitigate climate change when that might make you more dependent on countries that might decide to cut off supplies.
Well, renewables have not really helped in this situation. There's a shortage of wind in Germany in particular at the moment. In addition, Germany has elected to shut down all of its nuclear power plants. The last 3 plants are being shuttered this year. So their dependency on a single source of supply is becoming more and more evident as being a strategic miscalculation. Obviously, Chancellor Merkel allowed herself to be drawn into the spider's web of the Kremlin, and they have now suffered the consequences.
Do you think this will actually hurt Russia?
Now, the situation is the following, that the revenues that President Putin generates from oil are 5 times the revenues generated from gas. So it's not such a big deal for President Putin to cut back on the gas supply. And the calculation is that if he does that and squeezes Germany hard enough, there'll be then pressure on Ukraine to come to a settlement that will be in line with what Moscow is interested in. I mean, basically, at this point, it's very important for Germany in particular to try to get this war over and get supply chains back to normal. And that is, I think, the challenge that Berlin is currently facing, how to continue to, quote, support, unquote, Ukraine, but at the same time avoid a catastrophe for its own economy. The increase in the prices of gas, which have gone up by about 130, 150% since the start of the war, these have effectively driven Germany from a 30-year trade surplus into a trade deficit. So we're seeing a considerable impact on Germany's strength economically from the squeezing that the Kremlin is imposing on the German economy.
All pressure on Germany. That's fascinating. John, thank you so much for being with us. John Quelch, thank you.